Welcome to Digging with Dan. In this first episode, I'm going to show you the rebuild and shape of the shark fin jump on the Hit the Terps jump line and Mill Creek mountain bike trails. This is part of a full rebuild of the trail as it was starting to look a little tired. The tools I'm using for this rebuild are a long handle shovel. I'm also using a mattock. Lastly, a rake with a long handle and metal teeth. All these tools are readily available at most hardware stores. There's a ton of other tools that could be used for this type of job. These are my preferred tools to get this job done. I'll go over a few different types of custom trail tools in another episode, as there are so many good trail specific tools on the market, and how do you choose one over the other? Now I've been over the tools needed, let's get into the rebuild. The first thing I'm doing is digging out any of the old shape that I no longer want. This jump used to have two separate takeoffs, but the beginner line never really worked the way I wanted it to, as the takeoff was too short to shape correctly. I'm changing this to a one-piece takeoff known as a shark fin, due to the shape of it, which you'll see later in the video. This will allow riders to progressively move from the small side of the takeoff, which has a tabletop, to the higher side, which has a gap on the rider's right-hand side. It also allows me to shape it in a way that is consistent and predictable for riders working their way up. Once the old shape has been removed, I start to move the material around to get an even spread and roughly shape what I'm trying to achieve. The material I'm working with is mainly clay soil. Depending on how wet or dry it is, it can be very different to work with. Luckily, the dirt I'm working with in this video is probably at its best consistency. It's not too wet and not too dry, and it allows me to shape and pack it without having to add any water or sandy material. To create the shark fin shape, I need to move dirt to the high side, while ensuring that the jump has a nice steady progression to it in terms of takeoff height, and that the transition from the flat before the jump to the takeoff gives a consistent feel and isn't too steep. If the jump's too steep for its length, it can make the rider pop too high for the landing, or have it throw the back wheel up in the air as the rider leaves the jump. When I've got it to the rough shape and height, I start to compact the dirt with the flat side of the shovel. By doing this, I can start to see how it will look when it's finished, and it will tell me if I need to add or remove any material. This is where the creativity comes in the jump building, by creating edges and shaping the lip in a way that's smooth and consistent. It might not come across in the build laps, but I regularly go back and look at the shape I'm making to make sure it lines up with landing correctly and that it's shaping up the way I envisioned it. If you don't step back and have a look at it as you go, the finished product could be way off the mark, and changing it once it's compacted is a lot harder. That shark fin shape is really starting to pop out now. All that's left to do is slap it all down with the flat side of the shovel until it's smoothed out. There's our shark fin, all packed down. You can see the beginner line there on the left, and as it progresses up to the right, the intermediate and advanced line. Now that the shark fin takeoff is done, I can move to the landing. It's a similar concept to building the takeoff in terms of shaping and compacting. The shape of this landing is banked up on the rider's right hand side and is hipped for the intermediate and advanced riders, so they can land in the corner on an angle and carry speed to the next jump. The beginner line can be hit a little bit straighter on, and then use the bank to set up for the next jump. The basic shape of the landing was there for this already, so I'm really just raising up the right hand side, shaping and compacting to freshen it up a bit. So I'm back the next day to finish it up, and the takeoff has firmed up quite a bit, which is great. It's best to leave any fresh work a few days at least before allowing riders on it. If it's ridden too early, then deep grooves will be worn into the takeoff, which will just need repairing. All that's left to do is finish off that shaping, pack it all down, and make sure the run out is clear and smooth. I'm much happier with the design of the takeoff and that shark fin shape that I've created. If you're building your own jumps or thinking about it, hopefully this video has helped in some way and inspired you to get creative. When working with dirt, you can make all kinds of shapes. The shark fin works well if it's a hip jump or a jump out of a corner. It's important to note at this point, this is just my way of shaping and building, and there may be a difference of opinion when building any kind of trail. Riders at Mill Creek mountain bike trails are generally riding bikes that would fit into the trail bike category, so it would have between 4 to 6 inches of travel. I designed this trail with that in mind, as riders will generally ride the entire network as well as doing laps of the jump line, so the jumps need to match the type of bike that's being ridden on them. The jumps also need to match the speed the riders can carry through them, as there isn't a lot of elevation. Well, there it is. Thanks for watching this rebuild of the shark fin jump at Mill Creek mountain bike trails. Stay tuned for the full video where I ride the whole trail to see how it all links and flows. I'm planning on doing a lot more of this content with some riding thrown in as well, so super keen to hear your feedback, any tips or ways you think I can improve. I'm also keen to hear your ideas on what you want to see in any future videos. If you do want to see more, leave a like, hit the subscribe button and leave me a comment. Until next time, get out there and move some dirt.